I'm Jonathan Larsen with TYT Investigates, and I talked a little bit yesterday about a new report that Mike Pence is privately acknowledging behind the scenes in the White House that the silence from the White House, from the coronavirus task force, for weeks, cost lives, may have cost lives. And so there's some indication that reality is beginning to creep in within the White House about the impact of their public messaging, the public face, no pun intended, that they have put on this. And we've already started to see some signs that what I was talking about yesterday uh, is a reality, and that it is even infecting Trump himself. Again, no pun intended. In an interview yesterday on the Fox Business Network, Trump said that he is, quote, all for masks. He said, if I were in a tight situation with people, I would absolutely, meaning he would wear one. He said that he had no problem wearing a mask and sort of liked the way he looked in one, wearing a black one, saying it made him look like the Lone Ranger, who, of course, wore a mask exactly where we're not talking a mask. But that's okay, right? We still, baby steps. Good for you. Good for you. Now just fill in the holes on the mask and move it down over your mouth and your nose. Back in April, he says, I don't think I'm going to be doing it, meaning wear a mask, and that he, quote, didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing him wearing a mask. So what's changed? A couple things have changed. One, as I mentioned, even internally, the dynamics around mask wearing have changed. At the beginning, right, it was seen as uh, if you were wearing a mask, you were saying this is serious and requires long-term messaging. And that was seen as a critique of Trump, right? Even if, regardless of the fact that a competent Democratic president would have had the same reaction, meaning other people would have reacted to a pandemic under a Democratic president, a competent one, with the same measures. They still, under a Democrat, would have said wear a mask. Trump, I think, saw it as an inherent criticism of his ability to make it disappear, to make it go away. And so that, I believe, is how he came to see it as a political thing, one that was aimed against him, which therefore required him to take the other side and to mock Joe Biden for wearing it and to support people who weren't wearing it. So what has changed? What has changed is now there are enough people on his side who are wearing masks. Ivanka is wearing a mask. Mike Pence is now out there publicly saying people should wear masks. Mitch McConnell is not only saying you should wear a mask, he's saying there should be no stigma to it. Lamar Alexander, Tennessee Republican senator, said on Tuesday he lamented the fact that, quote, this simple life-saving practice has become part of a political debate that says if you're for Trump, you don't wear a mask. If you're against Trump, you do. He says has become part of a political debate as if it magically happened, right? As if becoming part of a political debate is a thing that just materializes out of the ether. It became part of a political debate because someone made it part of a political debate. But the bottom line here is that it's no longer cool, right? A new poll from ABC just found that 89% of Americans have said that they now wear masks, at least at times when going outside, at least in some certain circumstances. And keep in mind, Trump has a big event this weekend at Mount Rushmore. He has a unique genius for bringing together all of the crapitude surrounding his presidency and combining them into one fantastically intersectional moment, right? I mean, if you were the most woke person on the left, you couldn't construct these incidents better, right? Let's do a rally in Tulsa on the anniversary of the race riots there, and we won't have social distancing or masks. No, wait, that's a bad idea. Let's have it on Juneteenth instead, right? They managed to combine these fantastically bad um, uh, tangents all into one amazing MC Escher of But he's going ahead with this rally over the weekend, and what's happened now is that among his people, the people whose applause he wants, right? He doesn't mind getting booed by the other side, although actually I think he kind of does. But he uses that. He can use at least use that to get cheers from his base, his supporters. But his real base is the people around him, right? He comes off stage, he goes, "How'd I do? How'd I do?" Right? That's he's so short term, right? He's so myopic that the people around him, that's enough of a hit for him. He doesn't need to say, you know what, let's wait a week and see what the polling says. He doesn't operate that way. So what's happening is the people around him have now shifted enough that he will get applause from them. They will pat him on the back and on the head and say, "Good boy," if he wears a mask. So I don't know. We don't know, of course, whether he will or won't tomorrow, over the weekend at the Mount Rushmore thing. I guess it's tomorrow. Um, we don't know whether he will, but I would not be surprised to see him make at least some nod in that direction, and and that is a good thing, right? Everywhere in the country, you still see at big mass outdoor gatherings, not the protests, but I went to a flea market last weekend in New Jersey, and I would say 1 out of 10 people did not have a mask. Did not have a mask. At the protests, it's fewer than 1 out of 20 people who does not have a mask. But 1 out of 10 is still problematic. And my guess is that it might actually matter to millions of people if Trump says, "I hereby dub masks cool going forward." And you'll see this cultural shift. And, I get it if in your private moments you want to make fun of these people and everything, but it's 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 really important that we broaden our aperture and look at what goes on with these moments in our history, right? We've seen this with seatbelts, with smoking, with wearing condoms after AIDS or even before AIDS, right? Obviously, there were other diseases other than AIDS that were sexually communicable. With gay marriage, we've seen these moments where people were staunchly, for libertarian reasons, for religious reasons, they were staunchly against it, right? "I'll never wear a seatbelt. That's fascism." And then, boop, it tips. And now it's okay. And what we need to figure out as a culture, as a society, is how do we make that transition less painful for people? Because lives are at stake, right? Real lives are at stake. The faster we can get people to make that transition, the better. And I hate to say this because I enjoy making fun of people, but I do think that dropping the mockery is a part of it. Now, I do also think that a certain kind of mockery actually helps in this, but for the most part, I think when we have cultural and political divisions, it's really important that even when you're defending bedrock values against the opponents of those values, you don't demonize those opponents so extremely, so intensely, so essentially that you make it impossible for them to change sides. So maintain a shred of mercy, wear a mask, take care of each other, take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. Bye.